The first time I went on Lake Superior, I was intimidated. You don't have to go very far from shore before you realize what a big body of water you're on. So it's 377 miles from one end to the other. That's like driving from New York to Boston. The open area of open water, that's called a fetch. And the wind can whip up waves. The islands and the structures under the water, mainly the different depths and channels under the water, can concentrate the waves, funnel them so that they can be significantly higher in certain areas.
We're talking about Lake Superior, Gichigami. I am a water walker, and I do walk and I pray for the water. The water is a female spirit. People need to be aware that she's there and she takes care of us. She can turn. If we don't respect her, she can take life.
The earliest archaeological evidence we have in the islands dates to about 5,000 years ago. We have evidence of what are probably very early Native American fish camps. A lot of that was probably spearing. That was a Lake Superior fishing tradition that carried right on up into the 1900s.
I've been going with my dad since I was 7 years old, because my dad was a commercial fisherman. My grandpa was a commercial fisherman. My two uncles are commercial fishermen. The best time for a fisherman is when he gets off the lake, he can't wait to get back on it. And it can be awful, awful mean. A few times, I almost didn't make it back home. The big lake, Gichigami. One morning you can go on to the lake, and by the afternoon you run into rough seas. I can remember as a young man, as a young commercial fisherman, helping my uncles. We went out into the lake in a fishing vessel, and it was probably late fall. And when we left Bayfield, the lake was really super calm. And when we arrived out by Raspberry Island, the waves were so huge that we couldn't see from island to island. And I could barely stand straight. And when we got to Bayfield, the water was calm. And do you know, I was sick for 3 days after that. And I think probably that was one of the turning points in my life. And I understood clearly how the lake could change very easily. You need to be aware of all of this, just like the ancestors did. And you need to make sure you're well equipped. My uncles, lived a lifetime on this lake fishing. And it was considered to be their home. And I'm sure that their spirit still travels this lake. Well, respect is something that has to come from deep within. So how I show respect, number one, is I often carry tobacco with me to offer that tobacco to Gichigami, the big lake, to honor the area. Lake Superior is the second fastest warming lake on the planet, warming twice as fast as the atmosphere. We're losing ice cover, and that changes the ecosystem entirely. In the shoals, lake trout spawn, and when the ice covers those shoals through the winter,
protects those eggs that hatch in the spring. Without the ice cover, those relationships might be damaged. As it warms, invasive species can easier get a foothold and change everything we know and love about our lake and the way it should be.
We say in our tradition, the lake was passed down to cherish our Great Spirit. He's the one that had the vision for Gichigami, the big lake, what it would look like. And so the best we can do is to maintain it for that purpose and to make sure it's always here. I know that as Anishinaabe, that if we don't respect, that's when we create unbalance. That's not a way to live, and that's what we destroy.
So water to me water is life, water is healing, water is love. It is our responsibility to always keep our water pristine and pure. And that's why you see Indigenous people standing up and always talking and always protecting the water, protecting the land. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for water.